So help me understand. So take me like a danda.
Yeah.
I heard you say Protestant.
Yeah.
But you also mentioning Anglican. Which is which?
Okay, the Anglican Church is part of the Protestant.
Okay.
Because
they are the ones who, when they say Protestant, it means it was a deviation from the Catholic.
Yeah, so that's a whole church history. That's nothing much to do with Kenya, but it's a world.
Yes.
Oh, it's a church history from the world where, over time as man evolved, well, not evolved in the scientific, but the dynamics of life. From the 16th century, there was this reformation that came with Martin Luther protesting against a certain order and so on. But because our Christianity in Kenya is heavily influenced by Europe, by Europe, in this case British, so a lot of the things we inherited are what came when the British were here.
I get it.
So our Christian version is from a European point of view.
Yes.
So now when they came in, they planted a lot of mission work. Now the Catholics, which is primarily from Italy,
yes,
they had influence, I think, more because they'd been there for a long time because of the Roman Empire and so on. You know, we can always check out, Google all these things.
Yeah.
So from my perspective here, when I was growing up, the Catholic Church had a big share of the Christian cake in terms of population. I don't know currently the demographic in terms of population, but right now I think the last I checked, in the last 5 or so years in Kenya, between 2015 and now, there are about 14 million Catholics.
But how did the Catholic have such a good stronghold? And I know we're entering a lot of history, but we don't have to answer. But my question would be, it wasn't the Italians who came, it was the British.
Yeah.
Or the British had influenced already a lot of the Italians had already influenced a lot of the British to become Catholics.
I would say yes to that extent. Actually, come to think of it, I need to remember my CRE lesson. Or it's the strategy in how the Catholics did it. Because everywhere you think of a Catholic mission field, there has to be a hospital, there has to be, especially a hospital and a school.
David Kuria, who was here, says that the Catholic Church matched the government 1 shilling to 1 shilling in terms of healthcare.
Yes, there you go. Yeah. So now I can't point a finger at you and tell you when exactly they came, but all I know is colonialism came with the British here, and a lot of exposure we got it through them. So maybe they opened inroads for other missionaries to come from anywhere as we were growing and developing. Somehow they multiplied, and that could be the reason why, shilling for shilling, got much in the government. So it was very clear cut that there was the Catholic population, which has its own unique liturgy and culture and so on, which they use their service called the Mass, which is a standard all over. Up to today, it's a standard. Even if you're doing a small thing in your house and you want Mass to happen, the priest comes and so on. So because of that, a lot of Catholic churches were built, or if you're sharing a building in an institution like that, then we allow the Mass to happen, and then the rest of the people who don't subscribe to the Mass can come after. Yes. So that's what our place when I was growing up, they did. So we were sharing actually the same space. So the Catholics would come and do the Mass at 8:30, then us guys come at 10:30. Now the us guys are the rest of the people who are not Catholics, the Anglicans, the Baptists, everyone else that is the Methodists and so on. In my context, and what I'm talking about, I've not started talking about the charismatics.
Yes.
That's what I call them. Most people call them Pentecostals. Because when I was growing up in Nyeri, those days in the 80s, a big chunk of Christians were Presbyterians, simply because a lot of people from Kikuyu land are Presbyterians, because maybe that's where the mission was planted, or Anglicans. The Anglicans, and we had a few people from the AIC, a few from the AIM, which came with the Scots. Scots missions did a bit of Anglican. That's why you have, Presbyterian and Anglican, but also we had people from African Inland Missions, which also came from Scotland, which formed now AIC. All those are called Protestants.
I hear.
From what happened in the 16th century, who protested against whatever. Now, this particular chapel was primarily run by a Protestant church called the Anglicans. The Anglican Church.
I get it.
Which was called the CPK, Church of the Province of Kenya. Then it was later named ACK. So people know it as ACK. Like when you think about All Saints Cathedral, it's an ACK church, but it used to be called CPK. Because Church of England, you see now the British, the main church they subscribe to, the main order of Christianity they subscribe to is the Anglican.
Yes.
And they don't call it the Anglican Church, they call it the Church of England.
Yes.
Where the Queen is the head of the Church of England.
Guys have that one, they know because of watching Netflix.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Queen is the Church of England, or even those royal weddings.
Yes.
So that Church of England thing, when they colonized everywhere, when they were expanding the British Empire, this is now history. Free history I'm giving.
Are you there? That's why I'm loving it.
Though I'm not a historian, but I mean, I think the British Empire, we know of those who knew about colonialism, as they were spreading the British Empire, they carried their culture with them. And their culture included anything that the Queen does, Church of England. And so
go forth and,
go forth
and colonize and pass our culture.
Pass our culture, you know.
So part of the people who they sent were missionaries who were part of their culture.
Yes. So when they come here, for instance, and they say Kenya is a colony, because Kenya was actually a colony to protect East African Protectorate. They, from the structure of the Church of England, anywhere they went, that was a province. It was a piece of it. So we are growing the empire, but we are also growing the church. Everywhere the empire goes, the church is there. So we need to plant somebody there. We need to plant somebody there. So the headquarters plants. So those plants were called Church of a Province. So in Kenya, it was known as the Church of the Province of Kenya. So the province of Kenya. So Kenya to them, in the structure, is a province.
It's just a province.
Province of it,
Because the Great Britain is all of this that we own. So
there you go.
Kenya is just...
Yes, there you go.
A small piece of the pie.
Now, to copy and emulate what England does, where the Queen is the head of the church, and she's the one who, and then the Archbishop is the one who ordains or coronates a king and so on. So the church and government are together like this. It's the same concept that was brought here. So the institutions that are run by government, that's remember what I began by saying.
Yes.
So the institutions, if it's police, if it's now prison, if it is the barracks,
there's always
there's an Anglican catechist or chaplain there to represent Protestants. The Catholics, because they are strong also because of the model in which they were using church and so on, they're also given that respect.
I guess.
So in our days, you see like how now you have mosques. Nowadays, you're sure if you enter any barracks, even if you went to Langata barracks or Kahawa barracks, Army barracks or Moyo base, you will most likely in their chapel find that it has been run by the Anglican liturgy, because it was a Church of Kenya. Church of Province, it's government and church, that's it. That's why most of our bishops who have gone before, the guitarists and them, had a lot of say in this country and were respected.
I get.
And you find them in forums like the parliament. When the parliament is opening, you've got one of those people, and that's why it's a big deal when the Anglican Church is doing an election. Like now when they're transitioning from Archbishop Abukala to the current one, it was a big deal. It was a big deal that even Gava knew about it.
And Gava has to be involved because this is the culture that was passed down to us.
Absolutely. And these guys now are the ones. I'm saying this, I'm not even Anglican, but I'm saying this because I learned the roots of why it's important to be grounded just from that environment that I was living in. And so that liturgy is a standard.
But that small environment that you were in gave you such a perspective of the power of the church and the role of the church.
Absolutely, Do
you get what I mean?
Yes.
Let's go back to you.
So now we are back to the chapel, back to the chapel.
Hold on, let's guys digest on that one. This is what this series is going to be. Let's stop for a few seconds. We'll be back.